Welcome to the Burning Hearts Society, a space where prophetic process and real-time revelation is shared through honest and authentic conversation in the company of friends. Join us as we journey deeper into the heart of God together.
We've all talked about how we feel like the Lord is editing us and taking I don't know, he's just been cutting, leaving so much on the cutting room floor for me in my life. And even with the process of, I've been going through that heartburn thing since Sweden, which I'm pretty sure it was that very salty licorice that we had that I'm pretty sure I've tracked it to that because I could feel it burning as it went down because it was just so
What?
intense. Like I could
Ew.
literally feel it like the fire. Like I'm like, that doesn't feel like a good sensation. I don't know that was good for me to eat. And then I feel like it actually burned my esophagus. And so because since then I was having like such intense like squeezing. It felt like squeezing burnt, like somebody had their hand on fire and just like pushing it in my chest. And I was like, oh, is it spiritual? Is it physical? Like all those things,
Hmm.
these questions. And I was telling Sarah on the way home from Sweden, I was like, yeah, I should probably go to the doctor. She's like, Natalie, you should definitely go to the doctor. Like, what is it? This is probably like a physical thing. I'm like, I don't know. I just always thought it was spiritual. I was like, oh yeah, I have a physical body too. I should think about that like possibility.
We should not
Because
neglect.
I know, because I'm such a feeler in the spirit that
Yeah.
sometimes, especially when it's coming with taking territory or those things. And not that there's not a spiritual element, because I feel like a lot of times those things are so linked that it can be both. But I was just laughing at myself because like, well, I didn't even think like, oh, this could possibly be something I should like make sure I don't need medication
I
for.
might actually need assistance here.
I actually might need assistance. So finally feel like I have a plan to like heal my esophagus, but it's requiring of me such editing of my normal habits and my normal preferences. Um, like I'm not drinking coffee for the first time in I can't even tell you when. Like
Oh my.
since I've drank coffee, which I started drinking coffee in college, I've never like not that I have been like a habitual coffee drinker all that time, but um I don't know. I can't think of one time where I was like, oh, I'm not going to drink coffee for a while. It's just been always just something that's there that I really love, that I enjoy. It's like a comfort thing for me. And the Lord was showing me that as he was like, hey, you're going to have to, like, it became obvious just with talking to, our doctor friend and stuff. He's like, yeah, you get the coffee, even decaf is inflammatory. You need to basically cut it out. And sparkling water, which I love sparkling water. I'm like, I can't drink, I haven't had anything carbonated. And like all this stuff that I just find small delight in. And I can't partake of it right now. Chocolate is another one of those things. So I'm like, Lord, what is happening? And then when I was talking to Hannah when she's come back from Atlanta, that the phrase slipped out of my mouth. I feel like the Lord is editing me. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what's happening now. And he's just stripping away those like last remnants of false like refuge and false comfort. And because he really wants to be that. He really is that, but he's like, I really want you to know it. And
Hmm.
um and it goes so in conjunction with the place he's been leading me to just in the spirit. Just I know we talked about when we were doing our like our year kind of perspective for 2026 that it was the song of the bride was coming forward and that it
Mm.
was the year of the bride and the optimize, which is making so much sense to me right now because just the place that the Lord is drawing me in intimacy and in the bridal reality, I've just been like chewing on different pieces of the Song of Songs and um, the song of the groom over the bride over and over that have just been, they've just been marking me in such a fresh way. And so I can see what it's unto, but man, it's like it's so uncomfortable. Um,
Hmm.
and and I keep having to like even for the first like week that I was off coffee, Nate would make a coffee and I'd like hear the coffee machine go on. I could feel my heart like longing, like, oh, I'd be like, can
Yeah.
I just want one little sip. I'm just gonna have like so you'd make a cortado, which if you guys know what a cortado
Yeah.
is, it's like
Four
this big, you
ounces.
guys. And I'm like, can I have one sip, please? I'm like, here, thank you. So,
Your
so
Pavlovian response to
yeah,
the
like it just
coffee maker.
yeah, I'm like, oh, but you know, I've been completely off of it now for a couple weeks, and I'm like,
Do you
okay,
feel better?
my esophagus, yes, it definitely is has made a huge difference with that, and um, my soul, however, no, it feels good. It feels good because I think there was part of me that has always wondered, like, am I addicted to this? Would I give it up if the Lord asked me to?
Hmm.
Because anytime I'd fast, even. It would be, well, like I'll still drink coffee, or even if it was like a Daniel fast, I'll drink coffee, but I'll do it with oat milk, or, you know, like
Yep.
whatever kind of, it would still be a part of that, my rhythms. And so it being kind of forced out of my hand showed me like it just showed me one where I was seeing it as comfort because just the idea of having something warm in my hand in the like first thing in the morning was like, oh, this is a rhythm that it's not necessarily bad, but the Lord's like, hey, I just want you to look at all of this stuff and I just want you to like lay it all out on the cutting room floor and let me decide what goes in this season because he's drawing us into deep, deep love and deep, deep
Hmm.
like union with him.
Hmm.
Like not that he's not always doing that, but there's just something so precious about this season right now. Um,
Hmm.
that is just it's feels expansive at the same time as it's hidden, if that makes sense.
Yes, very
So,
much.
yeah, I don't know what you guys have been experiencing in that, but I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel the Lord crucifying my comfort, but it feels like that's been honestly like a couple years in the making. We were talking earlier about August, that specific August that we were talking about, the Lord asked me, I knew I was going on a corporate fast with a bunch of people, and he's like, you're gonna give up coffee. That's the only thing you're gonna give up. I don't care if you eat food, I don't care if you do XYZ, you're not drinking coffee for 21 days. And I was like, no, that was probably the hardest fast I've ever done, which shows you exactly the role that it played in my life. And I think most daily coffee drinkers would say yes and amen to the dependency and like truly like the creature comfort of having it, like going to bed looking forward to coffee in the morning more than like silence and solitude before the Lord might be a problem. Just saying, coffee helps, you know? You get in a
Yeah.
coffee shop and it like revelation just starts flowing. I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah, I will say that my recovery scores on my fitness tracker have been way improved since I stopped drinking coffee. Um, Probably because I would do like a coffee in the morning. I wasn't like a drink coffee all day kind of person because I would have been too wired for that. But
Mhm.
I would do a small coffee in the morning and then one in the afternoon. But I think even just that coffee in the afternoon was just messing up my circadian rhythms and I hadn't really been dreaming for months, and I know that I think that was part of it because I wasn't getting deep enough rest. And I didn't even realize that because I've done that for my adult life, that it was even messing with that. And I was telling Nate that I was like, man, my recovery scores have been green for like 7, 8 days in a row. I'm like, that never happens. So I'm like, okay, the
Hmm.
Lord is teaching me about about things that very practical, but also very deeply spiritual at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel him like slowing me down just in this season of life, reminding me what my physical limitations are, which and just learning to embrace contentment in doing a few things really well.
Mhm.
Even if it means doing it slowly and saying no to a lot of things that I know that I'm capable of, in other seasons. That's how the Lord's editing me. I mean, I I can't go running right now. I have to just go on short 30-minute walks, which feels like such a like I feel so weak. Um, but the Lord's teaching me to really delight in this season of limitations and learning how to rest and find a new pace that enjoy slowing down. Um, yeah, it's been good. It's been good and hard because when you set an expectation and a standard when you come into a community or you start doing ministry a certain way at a certain pace, then that expectation kind of remains or even increases, from other people's perspectives, like, oh, well, she did this, she can do this, this, and this now. And now I'm, entering a transition where it's like, oh, I'm having to be very forward with just how much I retrain how I spend my time and how much I say yes to things and teaching people not to, teaching myself not to allow people to pull on me.
Mm.
Um, but that's,
Mhm.
I feel like evergreen. That's something I'm always learning with the Lord.
It's really good. I was thinking about just with what you guys were sharing about something we talked about in a previous time we were hanging out here around the storms of destruction and disruption. And I feel like since we've had that conversation, I've experienced a disruption that I did not expect. And it's, we were talking about how the Lord is bringing disruption. It's the enemy because it's always unto something. It's always unto inheritance. It's always unto formation. Whereas the enemy just brings destruction. It's just like, let's just cause as much collateral damage as possible. And so, um, we're talking about being stretched, and we know this year was, kind of pegged, no pun intended, pegged the year of the tent peg. Isaiah 4, stretch forth your curtains and your rods, lengthen your cords. And it's, the Lord had spoken to me at the beginning of the year that this was going to be a year of increased weight bearing and growing in capacity, and just taking me back to some of the things that he'd shared with me before. He's like, you're going to just tuck this in your pocket. You're going to need that. You're going to need to refer to that later. And I'm like, okay, sure. And, you guys know that recently, like over the last couple of months, the Lord has like shifted me in the weirdest way. It felt super weird because, and essentially there were places in my story that felt like they had been for another day. It's like you have these different seasons of things that you walk through and what it looks like in various seasons of life to follow the Lord, to follow how he's leading. And I've been on a um 22-year journey that looked very different from what I expected when I was younger. And I have so come into a place of embracing that this is the life he's given me. This is how he's chosen to develop me. And there's been a full embodiment, right? A full coming into seeing that, like, this is not the way we thought it would look, but this is the way God had it. And every single thing he's used to form us and develop us and grow us, and even just seeing that like as a family. And then just recently the Lord just like took essentially a place in my heart that had been reserved. I kind of reserved it for another day. Um, and specifically, it's, putting my feet on the soil of other nations on assignment because, I have kids, and like it's just kind of like one of those things. Like I pray, I intercede for those things, but that's for other people to do right now. And the Lord, through a very wild and impossible to ignore way, just made it very clear to me that I have shifted you in this season. You are now shifted. And I'm looking for, he said to me, I'm looking for your yes. Like you give me the yes and I'll take care of the how. And I think this is something we can all resonate with, because it's not about what is it about. Like, in my case, part of what the Lord was reawakening in me had to do with going to nations, but it essentially can be any kind of season change, right? Um, and in that place of like, I literally felt like the Lord woke something up in me that had been asleep, and then like brought it together with the aspect of who I am that has walked through these seasons that have made me wiser, much of it hard-won wisdom, but woke that up in such a way that it's like almost like um wisdom and childlikeness kissing, and whimsy and like deep generational building, like coming together as one. And so it's hard to articulate because it's been quite a process, but it honestly took me by surprise. But um, the discomfort part of that was that, pretty much any time in my life, the Lord has shifted me. Right on the heels of the shift, there is some sort of sift. There's some sort of sifting, and so like immediately after I come into this shift, and I mean literally I wake up in the morning and I feel like I'm breathing different oxygen, like there's just a different part of me that's just woken up and alive. um I like weakness, things just hidden within my character, stuff like that, and we know how it is, right? It's just a continual refining, just comes up to the surface, and I'm like, wow, like I really did not think that was there. And it's super funny because the enemy, he will like take those things and want to like actually disqualify you for the shift, right? The Lord will say, hey, now I'm bringing you into XYZ. And then the Lord's like, okay, time to increase the heat because we want to make sure you've got longevity and all of that. And you see these things come up that you're like, oh, like, what's this? Like, there's no way that was in my heart, And, and it was super funny because right before that happened, the Lord had me just going down this whole thing in scripture around the sufficiency of his grace and boasting in the cross and all of that. And I felt like in a very quick period of time, it was like the Lord shifting me, expanding me, awakening things that had been like asleep for decades. And it's like, whoa, like I'm alive. And then it's like, and we have junk here. Like, and it's, and it couldn't be private junk. It could like it had to manifest in relationships. It had to manifest in my mouth. Like, like really like, and, and, and so I actually had to walk out a process of having like a few difficult conversations, and the enemy, he like stares over those moments. He's like, yeah, you're totally disqualified at this point. And the Lord's like constantly bringing us back to him as the source. And so whether we're in a season where he's having a slow down, or we're in a season where he's like, extend your tent pegs and it looks like this in this season, and it actually looks like speeding up, or it looks like more momentum, it looks like rapid change in certain areas, we still find that all of the everything we need is found like in that simple place of trusting the finished work of the cross. And so I celebrated. It's been I have felt like like this is super hard and uncomfortable, but it's amazing how God meets us in the, in the shifting and then the sifting that'll end up coming when a shift comes, and just the kindness of God to see like, hey, he really cares about our wholeness, and he really cares about our longevity, and he really cares about what he's building within us, standing the test of time and fire, that he will pursue those things that we don't know are in us, so that, he can be glorified and reflected in those places.
Mhm.
That's so good, Hannah. The Lord's been taking me through a similar process, not necessarily with dreams or things that I knew were for me that felt like maybe, like you said, for a different season or a different time. But even I was just sitting with the Lord one day and been thinking a lot about the difference between Chronos and Kairos and how God views time, because I feel like He's taking the body into an understanding of how His time works, because so many of us have felt a slave to Chronos, that kind of taskmaster of time. And I was sitting there, I think I was getting ready for the day, and I was thinking about past seasons and stewardship, about even like prophetic intel and things that the Lord had shown us for um for the nation and for nations. And I was like, man, Lord, I feel like you're not really showing us that stuff right now. Did we miss something? Did we not
Hmm.
steward something well? Did we, like, what happened? Would you show me? And in the Father's tender voice, he just began to walk me through some of that and just say, yeah, here, like, yeah, here we needed to learn and grow up a little bit here. And he's just like walking me through that season. And then in that, I was talking to somebody about an assignment, a prayer assignment that's coming up, and I shared a piece of intel that happened to be like right on the target, that was from that season that I was just asking the Lord about earlier that day. And the Lord said, "See, I hold all things, and
Mm.
I know just when it's time."
Wow.
And he took me to the back to this encounter that I had with him a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was March 19th. I'm looking at my journal. Sometimes I write these things down. Often I don't. I don't. And then I'm like, when was that? Um, where he took me into this encounter with time, and I began to see Jesus in the spirit. I was in the place of the spirit, and I saw the harsh reality of time, Chronos, the like start and end. And it was just like this harsh line, just, and it was a taskmaster. And then I saw Jesus in the spirit, and he was like swirling around it, and he would cross over that line, but he was just like dancing. He was dancing in the spirit around this harsh line of time. And he was like, "Come dance with me." And so it was like I saw myself as a child in a little blue nightgown like I had when I was a kid, and my dad used to button the back for me. It was like this little bedtime ritual whenever I wore that nightgown, even far beyond when I needed him to button it, when I was like, I could do it. But it was like, no, this is my dad's job to button this nightgown for me. And I just saw me in that blue nightgown, and I was on my dad's feet dancing through time. And it was like, hey, just come dance with me. And it just began to show me just the ease of which God holds all things, and
Mhm.
that it's not this like, he's not stressed out about it like we get stressed out about it. Like, am I behind? Am I ahead? Am I on time? And it was like, hey, I'm divorcing you from the false taskmaster, the false father time, and I'm
Mm.
actually bringing you into my rhythm of time, which it's a dance. And he said, this is how I father you. There is a cadence and a rhythm to the dance. And yes, sometimes there are set points of exchange, but mostly we dance. And it was him teaching me about the difference between that Chronos taskmaster father and the one who dances, and Kairos being those moments where it's like, okay, and now we intersect with this exact moment at this exact specific time. And there's an exchange of heaven and earth that comes at this exact time, but mostly it's all available because it's all in him. And he's just been taking me into this refathering in that area. And I think that's kind of what you're explaining too, Hannah, of
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
whoa, there's so much, like, we don't have to mourn dead dreams because if they're his dreams,
Mhm.
they're very much alive and it just might not be time. And it's reminding me of an encounter I had a couple years ago where I was taken into his field of dreams. And
Mm.
he said, he said, do you know I have a field of dreams for you? And I saw this expansive, like Midwest garden field. If you guys, if anybody's from the Midwest, like you drive those fields and it's just row after row after row of just tilled dirt and corn or whatever, whatever they've planted, mostly corn by me at least. And
Beans or corn.
beans, corn, yeah, wheat, whatever. Um, and I saw this expansive field like that. And in the field, there were these blue orbs that were just glowing with light, and that was what was growing. And I saw him as the gardener going through and tending to these things that were growing in the field. And he motioned for me to come over, and I could see inside of each orb was a dream of his heart for me. It was like I was like in Psalm 139, like the thoughts that you think towards me, the dreams that you have towards me, they're all like all of my days are written in your book. It's like I'm seeing my days right now. I'm seeing the expanse of your thoughts and your heart towards me. And in this specific encounter, he was taking me into I saw this one thought he had towards me, this dream of his heart, and it was my family sitting around the table laughing and eating together. And it changed my whole paradigm, even in that season of family and of like that it wasn't just a good idea Nate and I had to have kids and have this family. Even though I knew it was like orchestrated of the Lord, our family was orchestrated of the Lord, there was something that shifted in me because what I knew became reality in my heart when I saw it in the spirit with this encounter with the Lord. And I was like, oh my, like this was your idea. Like this was not just your idea, this was your dream for me. And it just shifted something even in how I related to my family. But um, all that to say, just the beauty of the dreams God has for us, like the gifts and the callings of the Lord are irrevocable. And the things that, if He's the word from heaven and we're like Him, as He is, we are in the world, then we also are a word from heaven. And so the word that He sends does not return void, and we can trust him in that process as we just let him button our nightgown and step onto his feet and dance with him the dance that he made us for. And there's just so much freedom in that. And yes, of course, there's the fear of the Lord. And yes, of course, like, but the goal is not to make sure we hit the mark. The goal is to make sure we stay on his feet. And
Hmm.
Yes.
that
That's good.
goalpost is so attainable because he's so accessible.
Yes.
So I've just been getting totally rocked. Just again, like I said, just refathered in this area of where it's probably been my place, like probably the greatest place of anxiety for me in my life has been time. And
Hmm. Me
am I
too.
behind time? Am I ahead of time? Am I out of time? All those things.
I completely agree. It's crazy because like even in the recent shift that I've had, it was actually an encounter that I referred to. I don't know if it was in one of these conversations or not, but I had an encounter where I encountered the Father and he like uncapped something in me. And that is actually what brought acceleration even around the dreams, like the connection between the fatherhood of God and the dreams of God. Like you can't separate them. And so he's been really rocking me in that. But it's so funny. You were talking about the Kairos and the Chronos. And in my dream last night, I was needing to make a connection and I was getting on a large double decker international plane. And I was concerned that I was running late. And I got there and the pilot was so like, this is not like any plane that actually exists. Like you were lounge, you sleep as you fly, and there was like a water tap coming straight out of the wall to your seat, and he was like, all aboard. This plane acted almost like the magic school bus, it could just, instead of like needing a long runway, it could just literally quickly accelerate and quickly, I mean, ascend and quickly descend as needed. And I was like, I'm sorry, did I thank you for waiting for me? Did I make us late? And he's like, nope, because once we're up there, it doesn't even matter. Like we'll always be on time. And so he was saying that literally the laws of nature and time as it is on this earth, that as we ascend, it it's like irrelevant. like like we're going to be right on time. So it's just crazy. Literally this
Well,
morning I dreamed
I
that.
mean, time, when we think about it, it's the ultimate limiter, right? It's
Yeah.
just when we think about time, all that we think about, usually when we associate time, is limits. I'm limited, I'm limited, I'm limited. There's not enough time, there's not enough time, or I'm behind, or I feel like something's chasing me that's, like gonna catch me if I don't go faster. It's just constant pressure and time trying to narrow your understanding and vision of purpose, of positioning, of pace. And like, yeah, I don't want to be redundant, but the Lord doesn't want us to operate with that mindset when we realize that he has infinite solutions for the
Yeah.
way and the variables of our life that cannot be contained in time. There's so much liberation and ability to express our creativity with him. When we dance with him, um, it's probably like not a already predetermined set of steps that we know. Like the Lord knows what the steps are, we don't. But oh man, the peace and the rest of just like realizing, okay, if I'm just close to the Father, then all of it's gonna work out. Like that has to be my only focus. I don't have to worry about the pressure that comes when I think about Chronos timelines. And that's been the story of my life too, the Lord breaking me free from the limitations that Chronos has, you always feel that chase, that it's going to catch up to you eventually, or you're never going to reach your destination in time, and therefore you're going to lose out on the destinies, the promises of God. Yeah, the Lord's just over the course of my whole life been slowly untethering me from just all the falsehood that comes with that type of mindset.
Mhm. Yeah, the fear and the anxiety attached to that, and just really, when I think about it, as both of you are talking about, I'm thinking about all the scriptures that talk about his nature being so opposite of that. That he makes beautiful all things beautiful in its time, that all the promises of God are yes and amen,
Mhm.
that he holds all things in him and through him and to him are all things, and that if we ask him for a gift, he's not going to give us for bread, he's not going to give us a snake or a stone, and just the nature of the Father. And this week I've been really drawn to read John 17 again. It's one of my very favorite scriptures that I return to so often. But we watched The Passion of the Christ on Thursday last week, which every year I'm like, I'm going to watch The Passion. And then every year I'm like, no, I'm not, because it's so, it's so intense and it's so just heartrending. But I felt this invitation. And so I crossed my friend Maggie always says, we got to cross the chicken line. And so I crossed the chicken line and, and I was like, hey, because people were coming over to set up for the Seder we were hosting. I was like, hey guys, after we set up, let's watch The Passion together. And so I'm like, let's join the collective sob. And indeed we did. But um, as I'm watching that, I just felt the Lord be like, read John 17, reread John 17. You have to come back into the longing of the heart of Jesus that allowed him to endure the cross, the joy set before him, the prayer that he knew that the Father heard and was answering through Jesus's yes. And so I finally did that a couple nights ago. And the verse that really stood out to me was the one that says, I've revealed your name to them. And I just heard the question in my spirit, well, what is the name that he revealed? Because they knew him as I am. They knew him as Yahweh. They knew him as Jehovah. They knew him as El Shaddai, El Roy, all like Nisi. They knew him as all these things. And and then the Lord said it was Father. Because before that time, they had said, Abraham is our father. But then Jesus comes and said, I'm the firstborn among many sons. And he begins to teach them about God as Father. And it's the place that we have to return to. I feel like the Lord is just really, he's just rooting out every last orphan system, orphan mindset, orphan paradigm, like everything, because it is the revelation of God that Jesus came, that died for and came to bring to the earth. And even in watching the Passion, I'm watching it sobbing. And I'm like, how dare we not know we're not loved or that we're loved? How dare we not know?
Come on.
How dare we not know that we are wanted and desired and that we have a purpose because somebody chose to lay down everything. God chose to lay down everything for the sake of suffering that we wouldn't have to. And so it's so beautiful to just hear you guys talking about that too, just that revelation of the Father and the revelation of the just being, I think that phrase just popped into my head when we were talking, the refathering in those areas that we can come into the fullness of those dreams that he has for us, that he's like, okay, now there's like in Galatians where it says like in the fullness of time, God sent, and we really can lean into that and trust him. We really can. And the parts of us that don't know that yet, the Lord is just so tenderly and graciously confronting with his love and with truth.
Thank you for being part of this conversation with the Burning Heart Society. Follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to stay connected to future episodes. Until next time, keep burning.